Hello, everyone, and happy Friday, and welcome to another episode of Sterling Live. We are so happy to have you back for another episode here. And again, week after week, I have two great guests with me, and I'm so excited. But as always, just as a reminder, Sterling Live is Sterling's weekly live series across LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, where we really just come and deliver great conversations, great discussions to you every single week. And as I just said before, I do have another set of great guests with me today. So why don't we waste no more time? Let's get into it. Let's get into who our guests are today. So please join me in welcoming both of our guests. We have Jenna Gardner, who you've seen many a times on Sterling Live. We can't keep away. She's back again. So she is a people and experience leader at Sterling. And then new to Sterling Live, we have Gerardo Dominguez, and he is the Director of Data and Systems. So thank you both for joining me. Really excited to talk to you guys today about our topic is creating a best-in-class culture and utilizing HRIS to support the experience. So before we get into our topic today, I do want the two of you to formally introduce yourselves to the audience. So Jenna, you've done this before, so you know how to do it. Go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience.
I'm sure people are tired of seeing me and saying, no, thank you. So as Caitlin said, I'm Jenna Gardner. I am a people experience leader. I'm located in Seattle, Washington, and I've been with Sterling for about 4.5 years. And currently my role is focused on our people. And I think, people are like, what is an employee experience leader? And the way I like to equate it is just like how companies have client focused teams. My team is focused internally on our employees to make sure their journey is equally as good as our client's journey.
I love it. That's a great description for that, for sure. Gerardo, welcome. Please introduce yourselves to our audience.
Thank you. We're excited to be here. And so Gerardo Dominguez, I am physically located in Tampa, Florida, Tampa Bay area. And been with Sterling for about 1.5 months now.
We got a newbie on the show.
Yes. Oh, yeah. and I'm a witness of Jenna's great program of employee experience. So we can discuss more in a little bit. But yeah, my current role here is to, again, I'm the director of people systems and data. So my team basically manages our HRIS system, which is Workday. And very excited to be here and have this conversation. It's part of what I do and what I'm passionate about.
Well, listen, week after week, we have very passionate guests, and we are so thrilled to have you on. And maybe we'll start telling people as soon as you join Sterling, you have to be on a Sterling Live episode. So it's a part of your
scare them away, Caitlin.
It's a part of your onboarding process. You're a month in, and now we're here on Sterling Live. But no, we honestly, the two of you couldn't be greater guests for this conversation. So I do want to remind our audience real quick across Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. If you do have questions for Jenna or Gerardo at any time during the show, please go ahead and go into the comment section and insert your questions there. And I will field them to the two as I see fit throughout the show. Without any further ado, let's get into our topic, which I had already mentioned, is creating a best-in-class culture, utilizing HRIS to support the experience. So I want to start with a bit of an overview. And Gerardo, my first question comes over to you. So what is an HRIS system? And can you provide examples of well-known ones, popular ones, things like that?
Yeah, of course. So, well, the acronym stands for Human Resources Information Systems. And basically it is, if you go back and look at a little bit of legacy systems, it could be known as an employee, as a system where we store employee records. Mm-hmm. But as technology has evolved, as everything else has evolved with technology, these systems have become smarter and have now cover a wider area to support our employee experience. So again, great topic. The top, from my experience, top players out there at the enterprise level, you're looking at SAP SuccessFactors, you're looking at Oracle HCM, and of course, you're looking at Workday. Mm-hmm. So Workday, it is the system of choice of Sterling. That's what we're using. That is where my experience is. And that's where we are, we'll be able to discuss today.
Well, thank you for that overview. And as a follow-up question, so maybe some people, as they're understanding that definition a little bit more, understanding the acronym and some of the big players in the game, internally, what is the team that's managing the HRIS system? So what does your team look like?
Yeah, so the team, we're under or people operations, right? So we're structured in a combination of full-time employees with different experience within Workday, and we're also partnering with Workday partners and a couple of consultants. So we're bringing, we're a very diverse team. So we bring different experiences, different knowledge from previous roles, and now we get to put it all together here at Sterling. So amazing. We're building an amazing team. Everybody's very passionate about HR technology improvements, and very happy to be here.
Awesome. Yeah. And I'm excited to see this team build out, because it is very, very important. Maybe it's not something that, an employee thinks about every single day, but when it's, presented to you and you have to work with a system like this, it's important to have a good one and a good team in place for sure. So very excited to see what's to come there. So let's move on into, another segment of the episode. So we're talking about, best in class cultures. We're talking about the experience. We're talking about the system. So let's dive into the connection between company culture and an HRIS system. So Jenna, let's start with you here. So what does an excellent company culture look like?
That's a great question. It's a very, very large question. I'm sure we probably
putting you on the spot a little bit.
It's really not a one size fits all. It's so dependent on, the leaders, the type, are you virtual or non-virtual? And I think for us, obviously at Sterling, it has evolved, especially as we have become a virtual first workplace. But after that all happened, we really thought about what we wanted the experience to look like. And for us, it was defining it as a culture where people could bring their best selves to work. That's like super lofty, romantic goal. But it captures like how, what we really want our employees to experience. So that means they're connecting with the right people. We have the right programs in place for them to succeed, to learn, to connect, to be highly engaged in not just their work, but the community that is within Sterling. That's, more or less our definition of culture.
No, and I think it's great. And while, maybe some of the phrasing and the keywords, for you, it might sound like romantic or romanticizing it, but it is realistic. I think we've spoken about it on Sterling Live before about the aspect of bringing your best self to work. And I can attest as an employee of Sterling, it is every day. That is a thing. We've put in place, the proper processes, the proper programs to do that. So I think it is great. We truly do live by it, and I love it for sure. So Gerardo, going over to you. So from your perspective, what does a great company culture look like?
Yeah, as a newer employee, then I could totally relate.
Are we doing a good job?
Jenna, again, I personally in a virtual environment have not felt be a part of the team, because constantly we are communicating, we're exchanging message through Teams. Everybody's very helpful, very nice. To me, a great, again, culture is where I can come in, I can bring my ideas, I can bring my experience, I can be myself, and have great teammates and diversity. I think we have, again, we're a global company, so we have colleagues from all over the world. My team, it's a very diverse team, so it's just amazing. So I feel at home. It feels good.
Oh, I love that. That warms my heart at home. I feel it. We're not just at home working literally. It actually feels like so. I do
that physically
and I am at home physically. Yes.
I love that for sure. I think that was a great response. So Gerardo, we're going to stay with you for the next question. Yep. So how does an HRIS system connect to company culture?
Yeah, it's in my experience, when you have one global system as a source of truth for the employee journey, the employee cycle, I think that brings the connection, right? So we don't have or situations where multiple systems, different data sources, where do I go? And today, when you're in a global system, you can log in, you can see who's who, you can see the org chart, who's my manager, who are my second level manager. Self-service, as an employee, manager self-service. I think that's how the system can help with the company culture. And of course, right, being having a system that is robust, that is friendly, user friendly, intuitive. I think that's all connected.
Yeah, that's a great answer for sure. And I can, attest to it. Like, I know I'm going in our system all the time. And like you had just said, finding out, which teams do people sit on? What does that hierarchy look like? What does that structure look like? Very, very, simple for me to see it on screen, to see it visualized and things like that. So that's just the one example I pulled from your answer, because I know that I'm doing that all the time in our system. I'm always looking up who goes where, things like that. So I think that's great. So let's reverse the question. So Jenna, how does company culture connect and relate to an HRIS system?
Yeah, I like the flip.
No, we're flipping it.
I tell my colleagues or my family members or friends, like I'm working with her every single day, and they like those are two separate functions. I do not understand how they connect. And like honestly, when you think about the employee life cycle, you're having a recruiting experience, an onboarding experience, a learning and development experience. Every single one of those processes, your entire time from beginning to end is done through Workday. So I cannot provide or think about providing somebody a really great experience without partnering with Gerardo to make things like automated and feel good and seamless within Workday. There's like not one thing I think about that isn't connected to Workday. Even when employees want to look at their paycheck, or if something goes wrong with their pay, that's like something that's distracting them, right, from their everyday work. And so it's like, how do we make sure every single touch point, as small as entering PTO or looking at vacation or looking at your paycheck, is smooth and seamless? That's a part of the experience that is elevated by our HRIS person, which is Gerardo and his team. So the connection is there on every single touch point. I actually can't think of a process that I don't do that I don't loop in Gerardo. For our HRIS experience.
Yeah, it has to be a partnership. It has to be a partnership to accommodate all these experiences into the system based on that strategy of the employee experience.
Well, that's a great segue, because I do want to talk about the employee experience. So let's keep diving into, Gerardo, the thought you just had. So this question, I'll come to you first for it. So basically what you were just starting. So we'll finish it. So how important is an HRIS system to the employee experience?
It's very important, right? And so, recently I recently joined Sterling, and I was in a situation where I didn't have my laptop. I needed access to my pay stubs, and of course, we're mobile friendly too. Workday is very mobile friendly. I was able to get it from my mobile, email it to wherever I need to email it to, and there we go, right? So the experience, I didn't have to email someone, I didn't have to go back to my laptop, and just small things like that make the difference, right? And within Workday, you have the employee. So me as an employee, my experience, right? So what does learning look like? Can I log in and enroll for courses? Can I see what my development items are? Can I see my objectives? But also as a people leader, I also have there's an experience for a people leader, right? So do I have access to my team and understand, when was the last time we did promotions, reviews? Are they getting feedback? What does that look like? And so as a people leader, you have that visibility to from a robust and enterprise system like Workday. But then we're talking to our talent team, our recruiters, our HR business partners, when they have that access to the teams they support, they can run reports, so again, it's all real time. It's all yeah, so that's all this experience of the employee life cycle, but also enabling that self-service aspect of it. I think that just makes it all part of that great experience.
Yeah, I do love that, these systems can be so robust, but at the end of the day, it's super important to be user friendly to have an employee go in and self-serve, like you just said. So tying that all back to the experience is super important. Jenna, do you have another view into, how important, this type of system is to the employee experience?
Yeah, I think my view comes from experience where a company really wasn't utilizing their HRIS. They were simply storing data. So like, oh, Caitlin is joining, and that was it. Like you had your start and end date. And the experience was it wasn't my team, but the HR team was doing everything manually, doing I-9 papers annually, looking at resumes manually, tracking it on an Excel and sending that Excel to the hiring manager. You're so bogged down in administering like your basic HR function, you can't lift yourself to be strategic and think about, well, I'd like their experience to be great. You can't think about that. You're like trying to fulfill the basic needs of the HR function. So, and you're in it and you're doing it and you're like, it's not that bad. It's not until you experience the great things of like elevating the experience through the HRIS where you're like, wow, that is absolutely necessary.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Again, I just wanted to add, I mean, in my background was in IT, and it was always also on improving. But since I, joined HR Tech the last 7 years, it's always about, okay, what kind of manual processes do we have? Are we still doing paper and how can we implement this into the system? How can we automate that email? Those are always the questions, at least in my mind. If it's repetitive, why are we not automating this? So that's why I was laughing when Jenna mentioned that they were still doing forums. So it is, every company's on a journey, and again, until you have a system that can do this for you at a global level, then you have multiple systems and you have paper and you have manual processes.
Yeah.
Manual processes, a lot of problems, things like that. So I think the advice here is, you got to move to a really good system for sure. So it sounds like someone's getting their lawn mowed. So that's a typical day working remotely. Speaking of working remotely, I do want to go there next. I think that was a beautiful segue from the landscapers that we just heard there. So we did it on purpose. I'm telling you guys, we did it on purpose. It's okay. You got
it's actually me here.
Yep, it's totally fine. You get it. This is live, people. This is what we get. But that was it. We did that on purpose. It's a perfect segue because I do want to talk about being in a remote environment. So, Jenna, we'll start with you. How does being in a remote environment impact the use of an HRIS system?
Again, I'm going to speak from my experience. I mean, when you think about going from like a physical office or a physical environment to a virtual environment in the employee life cycle, every single thing changes, right? When you recruit, you're no longer bringing people into the office. Yes. When you onboard, you're no longer physically giving someone a laptop. When you go through learning and development, you're not sitting there together in one space looking at the same board. And our HRIS has allowed us to make that transition. Right? Like sending the automated emails or conducting, not really conducting interviews virtually, but we use other technologies for that. But learning and development through our, virtually taking classes through Workday and not like in the physical. Offboarding can happen all virtually. And that's because of, our HRIS. But personally, as we were going into the beginning of the pandemic, we were about to turn on Workday. And I remember our head of people ops called and was like, "Ooh, should we do this? This is like our world is falling apart." Like literally, COVID-19 was happening, and people were going remote, and we didn't know what to do. And the decision was we have to like, we have to switch it on, because it was going to allow us to make that transition, which people don't think like, oh, a system is going to allow you to do that, but it really did help us. But also, like, making sure our data was clean. Did we know where Jenna Gardner, like, all of her contacts in case anything happened, or where she was located, to get a perspective, like, just connecting globally where we are. So, I think it was so important to utilize Workday in our transition to becoming virtual.
Yeah, that's really important. Even just like the idea of understanding, who your employees are at that time. What information do we have on them? Where are they located in like a very unknown like situation, things like that. So it's a great like real example from Sterling. So I do appreciate that for sure. Gerardo, what are your thoughts in regards to, remote, working remotely and the impact on a system like this?
Yeah, I mean, I again, through the pandemic, I actually also made a big relocation change. And so, working remotely as a candidate, I can tell you that when you have a system like Workday and you're filling out your application and you're entering certain, contact details, it is a secure system, right? So, your data is secured. As a new employee, when you come in and, at least you're entering bank details because you want to get direct deposit, you're not exchanging this data through an email. It's all in a secure environment. And I think that's very important, key to in a remote, in this era, basically, security, self-service, where I can just change my home address in Workday and it will update automatically, feed through the other systems, and I don't have to worry about it, right? So that's the that's key nowadays. It's actually it's essential. It's no longer a nice to have. We need to have that kind of environment to be successful.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think that's really great. So the two of you have brought up, employee data throughout the episode so far. So I want to dive into that a little bit more and get some more detail out of both of you. So Gerardo, we'll start with you. So what is the impact of having clean data? And then what happens when you don't have clean data?
Yeah, I mean, it's clean data. It's a priority in my experience throughout my journey, and it certainly is now. Again, understanding your workforce, right? So our headcount, our employee movements, our attrition rates. Are we training our employees? What does that look like? So it is key for strategy to make data-driven decisions. And if you don't have that, then you can't make smart data-driven decisions. And then what is the purpose of having an enterprise system like this? So again, it is a top priority pretty much on anybody that has my role because the data needs to be accurate for every company to make those business decisions.
Right. And Jenna, within your role, what is that impact of clean data and, what could possibly happen without it?
Yeah. So, from my perspective, we say we're a people first company, that we care about your growth and development. We care about your connections. And if you don't have the data to support that, it's like lip service, right? Yeah. You want to look at your workforce and say like, all right, this percentage of people were promoted. Like, how do we, and the next year, get more promotions internally instead of, doing a different strategy? Or like how many, you want to increase your diversity efforts. You take your baseline data and then you try to do even better next year. So that clean data is just so critical in just like basic HR, but again, my employee experience lens about giving the best experience.
Yeah. And give a good experience. I think we do, to be honest. I'll be a little biased. We do give a good one. So,
I agree to that.
Hats off to the entire team. So let's look ahead to the future and looking at everything, what's coming down the road, what journeys look like and everything like that. So Gerardo, I'll start with you with the first question. Can you explain how HRIS systems are constantly evolving and changing?
Definitely. we're partnering with one of the most innovative companies like Workday. You know, I when I started working within the ecosystem of Workday, this was 7 years ago, and I've seen the tool, the application evolved from a user experience perspective, from a user interface perspective, but also improving the business processes, the security model. So, Workday does have its own roadmap for their product, right? So they are always evolving. They're looking at machine learning. We're talking not too far from now where, or actually, predictive learning based on your role. So it's getting smarter. It's getting to know who you are by your role, by your learning. It seems that, whenever you register for a course, it knows your interest. So then it recommends, courses based on your interest. So it's getting smarter and smarter. I'm sure we'll see voice pretty soon. We'll tell Alexa to request time off, and eventually.
Don't say that too loud. Our audience, all of our audiences, Alexas just went off.
I'm kidding. I think that's definitely on the roadmap. So so Workday does have, again, a product roadmap for us as a team. Continue to stay on top of what's new with Workday. Workday has 2 major releases in a year. My team is actually actively, they are looking into what's new, what's coming, what is useful for our strategy, what can we adopt. And my team's always on training in the communities. They have a great community portal where you get to ask the questions, where you get to interact, to help other customers. Prior to COVID, there used to be these big conferences, annual conferences, where you get to go and see what's coming in the pipeline of the product, meet other customers, interact. Everybody's on the same version of Workday. Obviously, they have different configurations, but in a way, we face sometimes similar challenges and opportunities. So, it's a great that's how we, as individuals, stay on top, but also products. They continue to evolve. They continue to grow, and I think it's we're in a good journey with them.
That's great to hear. And everything, everything changes and evolves. We all know that. So it's a constant shift, constant change. So I really do think that was a great answer. And Jenna, just to go off of it, how do you feel like Sterling's practices and, adopting these systems, how do you think we're positioned in the future for this?
Honestly, it feels we've adopted it really well. It feels good to join I've been here for 4.5 years, but it feels good to know that you're joining a company that's using modern technology, where you're not going to be like, how do I pull my pay stub, or how do I do this, and get stuck on those little things that are big things for people that can detract from their focus on, being successful. Utilizing Workday has allowed us to focus on every single thing, like our workforce, promoting our values and really aligning all of that. So we've done a good job. I couldn't be more proud.
Hey, listen, I can agree for that.
Yeah, and just to add again, we're bringing great. We're building a great team. The team is very passionate. So I think we're in a good journey.
Yeah. Your passion is rubbing off onto my team. Like, yay.
It's just like coming into all of these boxes right here, the passion. I love it. So over 27 minutes, tremendous episode so far, tremendous conversation between the three of us. I have learned so much in this short amount of time. At this time, though, I do want to invite our audience again across Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. If you do have questions for Jenna and Gerardo, please go ahead and put them in the comment box, and I'll get them over to them as I see fit for the remainder of the episode. As we wait for any potential new questions to come in, I do want to gather final thoughts from the two of you. So Jenna, I'll start with you. Final thoughts on the topic, today's episode. Anything else you want to send off our audience with?
If I could, 2 words, do it. Like, get a partner get a good HRIS system. I think hopefully our conversation was very transparent, and like how we've been able to utilize it to lift us up. And, from experience, like if you don't have it, you're going to be drowning in the administration of just very basic HR tasks. And if you want to create a good experience, you can't be there. You have to be elevated into the strategy. And so, yeah.
Love it. I love it.
My word.
Simple advice. A great advice given throughout the show, but some good simple advice at the end there. Gerardo, final thoughts from you.
Yeah, do it. No.
2 times.
Definitely. Again, for the audience, always looking to partner with other experts, other journeys, exchange ideas. We have to continue to innovate, and we're excited for what's coming.
I'm excited. This whole episode, you just get excited through it, of course. So at this time, we don't have any other questions, but I just want to give a tremendous thank you to the two of you. Another thank you to our audience for joining us, whether you're watching live right now across our social platforms or on demand in any fashion of how we send this out later. But Jenna and Gerardo, thank you so much. This was a great episode. And as always, Sterling Live is every week. So we will see you next time. But again, thank you both so much.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. Likewise.